2020 Cobb County Board of Commissioners Board meeting. I'll just start this meeting with a quiet moment of meditation and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. So those of everyone there, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to take care of a couple of administrative notes first. Bill, would you like to discuss about the motion we're going to need to do to have a virtual meeting, please?
Yes, sir, Chairman, thank you. Hey, Chair, as we did in the last couple of meetings, Cobb's Information Services Department has worked really closely with the Communications Department and our office to offer the Board of Commissioners meeting with virtual participation. The BOC and staff are attending virtually, and arrangements have been made to allow virtual public participation for both public comment and the public hearing components of this meeting. To that end, Chairman, I would suggest that one of the members of the board make a motion based upon these unprecedented circumstances, COVID-19 pandemic, that you allow the following changes to the BOC meeting rules for this June 9th, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting. The BOC staff and citizens be allowed to participate in the meeting virtually, and the BOC members can vote by voice or by hand signal. Otherwise, the BOC regular meeting rules will apply except as modified during the normal course of the meeting pursuant to the rules.
Okay, so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, please. I think it passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, let's go into the public hearing first. And I believe those are both our water department. So Judy, Ms. Judy Jones, you have number 1, to conduct a public hearing for employment of consultant services.
Yes, we request that the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing prior to the employment of consulting services, where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for design services of our FY21 Maintenance Zone 4 Miscellaneous Water Main Replacement Program, program number W2390.
Okay. So with that, just the ground rules, unlimited number of public speakers. Each have 3 minutes. And with that, and then I would ask to let us know who you are and where you live in the county. So that, I now open up this hearing, this public hearing for the employment of consultant services where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for the fiscal year 21 Maintenance Zone 4 Miscellaneous Water Main Replacement Program, number whiskey 2390. Would anybody like to comment on this consultant service proposal?
Chairman, Ms. Bell-Roll, it's my understanding, and I ask and confirm this, there were no persons that signed up for the public hearing for item number 1.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So that I now declare closed the public hearing for the employment of consultant services where contract fees would likely exceed $100,000 for fiscal year 21 Maintenance Zone 4 Miscellaneous Water Main Replacement Program, number whiskey 2390. This is the second public hearing.
Yes, the Water System requests the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing for employment of consulting services where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for FY21 South Cobb Water Reclamation Facility Rehabilitation, Program Number T3020.
All right, the same rules, the same guidelines apply here. Unlimited number of speakers, 3 minutes each. And we ask you to identify who you are and where you live in the county. And now declare open this public hearing for the employment of consultant services where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for fiscal year 21 South Cobb Water Reclamation Facility Rehabilitation Program, number Tango 3020. Would anyone like to speak on this issue?
Chairman, I've also been informed by Information Services and Communications that no one has signed up for this public hearing as well.
Okay, thank you. So I now declare this public hearing closed for the employment of consultant services where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for the fiscal year 21 South Cobb Water Reclamation Facility Rehabilitation Program, number Tango 3020. All right, public comment. We've had a lot of back and forth about this, and I think that the reason I would like the board to consider extending the rules, modifying the rules for the number of speakers, is that we have to acknowledge we've been living again continuously, although this is a different subject, in a time where I believe that in order for the public to be fully heard, that we ask that we allow some additional speakers, but still limit the 60-minute time frame. So that I'm asking for the board's concurrence to have 20 speakers and 3 minutes each. And I know there's probably going to be some discussion on that, so I open the floor to discussion.
Mr. Chairman, one of my questions to you was, when was the deadline for speakers to sign up? Was that Friday or was it Monday?
I think it was last night. It was last night.
So why wasn't this discussion had last night so that we could notify the speakers that their time was going to be reduced almost by 50%? A lot of them I know have had prepared speeches. While I'm sure they can make shortened speeches, the expectation was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So if we're going to start doing this routinely, we need to be respectful of our speakers and notify them of time changes prior to doing it at the hearing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Commissioner Gamble, and the oversight was on my part. Somehow during the meeting agenda prep yesterday, I forgot to bring up the discussion. So I apologize. It wasn't intentional. We had so much going on yesterday that it just got overlooked it during the discussion period. So, but I also
Chairman, this is Bill Rowling. The decision would actually have to be made by the board today. So right. It's either stay with the regular rules or if you want to adjust them. So
I think her point was that we should have had this discussion yesterday, so it doesn't seem like it's a last minute thing. And she's got a good point there, and I agree with that. And I'll be more mindful of that in the future. But I think it's also important that we have a policy, we do stick with it. The board in the past has recognized there are special circumstances sometimes that we'd like to hear more speakers because of the nature of the topic. And I think today is one of those times. But I'll be more mindful again, like I said, of this policy and trying to enforce it. And also to make sure that if I am going to ask you to ask for additional speakers, that I bring it up during agenda prep. So I apologize to the board. It was my error, and I'll try not to do it again in the future.
Chairman, this is Commissioner Cobb.
Sure.
In years past, I know sometimes we've allotted the people who signed up for the first 12 slots to get their full 5 minutes, and then we truncated the time of additional speakers. That is a compromise that can be made if there are those that signed up timely to get one of those first 12 slots.
Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner Cooper. These are unusual circumstances right now, and I'm just asking for the board to work with this one time here so that we still can address the other important topics that we have on the agenda that will certainly require a lot of our time.
So are you saying that you prefer not to consider that and just be 3 for everyone, or are you willing to consider 5 minutes for the first 12?
No, I'm going to make a motion that for today we modify the rules to allow for 20 speakers for 3 minutes each. So any other discussion?
Then, Mr. Chairman, I think we also then need to note it if we do another public comment sign up via the website, we need to put a disclaimer on there that based on the number of speakers, your time could be shortened.
Right now, it limits it. Well,
That's also a great idea. Okay? So, well, we'll try not to do that in the future. I just think that we need to, there's no sense having the policy and then not observing it. All right? But I think we also realize is that we have to be flexible because sometimes the times require an additional, a small change for that one time. But I don't want to make this a regular practice. I agree with you, Commissioner Cupid. We have a lot of important things we have to do here at the board. And we can't forget about the fact that it's important to have a balance between hearing the public, but also doing the public's business. Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion that for today, we revise the public comment period to allow for 20 speakers for 3 minutes each. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any further discussion? Okay, with that, I'll call the motion. If you raise your hand, if you're in favor of it. See, 1, 2, where's Commissioner Burl? Oh, there you go. Okay, it's 5-0. Thank you so much for that support. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, Bill, I'll let you let the public comment begin.
Yes, so the first speaker that signed up is Hill Wright. Hill Wright.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Wright.
Okay. I had previously addressed the board on the issue of the 1290 clothing store that's applied for a business license on Johnson's Ferry Road. Some see this about the products being sold at the store, but don't realize that the concern is much worse than just the products that might be sold. Some think this will blow over and don't realize this evil has entered communities. It's been used to exploit communities, and it just hasn't gone away. However, when you look at who purchased the building, you will find that the same entity plays a major in producing pornographic video. Just look up Pleasure Productions to see an example of the content. The entity that formed the LLC is a distributor of these pornographic videos, magazines, and adult merchandise. The entity that applied for the business license lists itself as a video producer. Players who are bringing 1290 clothing to Cobb County. When you put everything together, there's a vertically integrated adult entertainment industry operation inclusive of production and distribution of adult videos, pornographic magazines, pornographic websites, adult manufacture, distribution, and resale of adult merchandise. The entity bringing this store to Cobb County has a history of finding loopholes, exploiting them for one type of business license, then changing the type of business license, and tying up the county or monies in litigation for years to enforce the original application made for the business. Once here, this isn't going away. It's the start of the exploitation of the people of Cobb County. I'm calling on this board to put in place a business license application which will make any entity declare its intent to operate any adult business at the time of license. Call the board on the board to change the zoning to consider adult businesses and land use planning to exclude these businesses for our neighborhoods. I'm calling on the board to tighten up the code so that all types of adult items are regulated, leaving no loopholes to be exploited. Finally, this is the time for the board to appreciate the people of Cobb County more than ever. To see the people of Cobb County as good with kindness in their hearts. Not to presume to know what's in the hearts of the citizens. For focusing on kindness grows kindness. Focusing on the negative grows negative. Right now, more than ever, we need leadership that unites the people of Cobb County, not divides the people. Thank you for your time. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The next public speaker is David Birkenbein.
Good morning, David Birkenbein, District 4, medical burn ban. I hope you all got my email on the 5-year anniversary of the medical burn ban and your inactions on what it caused and what it will cause in the future. And I figured this is a good time to bring up the vulnerable people that need the medical burn ban of the COVID-19. We want to protect them from the virus. Well, we have a virus here in Cobb County, and that's the inaction of the board, the inaction of safety, inaction of fire chief, inaction of fire marshal. And so you read my letter, that's good. But the other item is item 21. I call it the free money grab. $2,385,082.71. Liberal wish list on a COVID-19 stockpile. What have we done in past disasters? I believe this is an appropriation of $2 million that can be spent elsewhere. I believe it's an agenda that somebody wants to come up with because they wanted a pole barn and all this other stuff, and here was the money, so I'm going to grab it. We're going to go for it. If we continue down this road, if we build all this stuff, we don't have nothing in the general budget to keep it up, or is it going to go disappear right after the virus goes away? Like I say, how did we live with money, with disasters without this money? And then the next one is item 22, self-contained breathing apparatus. If they're good enough for Carroll County, and I go out to Carroll County, that's my place to get away from Cobb County, they should be good enough for Cobb County. Oh, but wait, they have reached their end of their useful service life. Do you know the liability in that? Why don't you ask the county attorney sitting there? Don't send this out to where my other place is. Keep Cobb County out of Carroll County. These ought to be destroyed. Any other time anything has met its life expectancy or anything else, useful service, needs to be destroyed. And there's a lot of people in Cobb County that have reached their useful service life, and they need to move on. This good old boy techniques of replacing people with people within the system isn't right. You had 80 people that was qualified for public safety. You're telling me this is the best we got? I am really, really not happy. From 5 years ago to now, it's still a thorn in my side. And y'all do not act, y'all do not listen, y'all don't care.
Recommend your time's up. The next public speaker is Ms. Monica.
Thank you. Racism, I want to address the resolution of racism. Racism is an institutional structure that impacts every aspect that we do and has many implications. The lack of wanting to truly address it or talk about it in this country, overall country, and the mindset of what racism is why almost 250 years after this country's founding that this feuding is still taking place. The discussion and action towards a resolution is something that should unify all people. Even while being difficult, denial that racism should be addressed is problematic and disruptive, and it leads to distrust. Before a resolution is passed, it is important that it is clear without a shadow of a doubt that the words that are written are sincere and heartfelt and are committed to the change that's really needed. There is a moral obligation to do what's right. Anything that is not meant or anything that is not supported fully is wrong. My husband is an officer in the military for 33 years, and he talks about when he runs and how he rehearses in his head what he will say if he is stopped by police or a citizen in the very community that he puts on a uniform to defend as well as pay taxes. Having that as a reality, and as a wife, is a perspective of African Americans, and that perspective has been very different since the founding of this country, because we have failed as leaders to address the issue directly. This country becomes more and more racially polarized, and until people are willing to empathize with African Americans and other people of color, that reality of all people does not negate that because it's not a reality of all people does not negate that in fact it is a reality. If we truly want to address the issues of racial disparity that plague this county, it would require lawmakers, politicians, faith-based leaders that must collaborate to create the community that we say we desire. But then that poses questions. Do lawmakers and politicians really want that change? And do we really want a community where everyone gets to compete equally? Decisions that are made at the highest levels must reflect what the statement and the sentiment actually requires. What are the impacts? And what are the larger impacts for leaders? Well, looking at everything that we have been allowed to see, witness, and experience, especially in these past few weeks, if we cannot agree that we still have an issue with race, whether it be acknowledging that it exists, talking about it, creating resolutions to address it, holding people accountable when they violate the very principle for which they say our country is founded on, we've already lost. When laws are made, we must be willing to review them and be willing to look at the impact that race has, not just from the lawmakers, but for the laws that it's inflicted upon. What biases are on the bench once a law comes, once a crime is committed? What is the racial impact of tax laws where certain parts of the county are funded disproportionately? And what decisions are driving how investments are made in the county?
Monica, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next public speaker is Sammy Dow.
To Chairman Boyce and the Board of Commissioners, good morning. My name is Dr. Sammy Dow, and I have the pleasure of serving as the senior pastor at Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church along the historic Whitlock Avenue corridor in Marietta. I speak today calling on the Cobb County Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution acknowledging the presence of institutionalized racism, unchecked white supremacy, and systemic oppression that exists in Cobb County, the state of Georgia, and in the very fabric of the American experiment. We need true leadership from the Board of Commissioners that is willing to be bold enough to pass a resolution that says Black Lives Matter. We cannot succumb to the language of all lives matter until we first address the protection of those lives that are in danger. The racism that Black residents in Cobb County have experienced at the hands of law enforcement and because of ineffective and racist political decisions and policies is also sinful and categorically wrong. The Board of Commissioners must be prepared to be honest about that history and commit to tangible policy resolutions that move our county forward for everyone, including its Black residents. Given the evils of white supremacy, the need for systemic change, and the opportunity to dismantle long-standing and deep-seated institutional racism in Cobb County, we need the Board of Commissioners to be bold, honest, and forthright in saying what needs to be said. Not simply saying what will appease certain residents in this county who do not carry the weight of being Black in Cobb County and this nation. It is easy to speak against racism or advocate for watering down the board's position when you have never and will never experience the reality of being Black in America. To that end, I am calling on you, Mr. Chairman, and the entire Cobb County Board of Commissioners to establish a commission of stakeholders and community organizers to examine the Cobb County Police Department's use of force policies and to make actionable recommendations to the Board of Commissioners for serious review and subsequent adoption. I also call on each of you to establish the Cobb County Citizens Review Board to provide citizen oversight of misconduct accusations against sworn members of the Police and Corrections Department in Cobb County. The Board of Commissioners can no longer remain silent or conservative on the issues of race in Cobb County. Although many of you do not know firsthand the weight of having to live with these realities, you have a responsibility to the Black residents of Cobb County to use your authority to dismantle institutions of systemic injustice and oppression. The winds of change are now blowing in the direction of justice. Do not allow Cobb County to be on the wrong side of history because of an unwillingness to go all the way in addressing racism. I request a written response from each member of the Board of Commissioners regarding the actionable items I have presented in my aforementioned comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dow.
The next public speaker is Dr. Williams.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Ben Williams. I live in Mableton, Georgia, 5307 LC Lane. I'd like to first commend the board and Mr. Chairman, commend you for your leadership of bringing this board together so that we can begin to start our work to address systemic institutional racism. I understand that the task of coming together around such an important issue for this board has not been easy. In spite of the difficulty, the resolution that is set before you to be adopted today is indeed a first step. There are many people in this community who are poised and ready to work with you in order to really get at the root problem. I'm extremely pleased that the resolution does not attempt to find an exit door for members of the board. Removing references to the Cobb County Police Department, thereby shining, if you will, or pointing in that direction, which is away from the board. It keeps us on track to really look at systemic institutional racism. This umbrella is called Cobb County government. There are a number of spokes in it that must be examined, but as we examine the underpinnings, we've got to remember that the Cobb County Board of Commissioners is the umbrella. I look forward to working with you. It will be hard, but change is hard. And we must approach this work understanding that it will be hard, but together we can overcome whatever is in front of us that we need to work on and work with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
The next public speaker is Carol Massey. Ms. Massey?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Carol Massey, and I live at 4045 Evelyn Drive in Powder Springs, Georgia. I have served with Cobb County as a volunteer in several capacities over the last 4 years. I'm primarily working through Cobb Police Department and the Neighborhood Safety Commission. I'm coming this morning to address the resolution regarding racism. And on yesterday, I reviewed 2 versions, and then late last night reviewed a third. And I hope that it is the third version, the compromise version, that is before you, because the initial submissions seem to concentrate the responsibility for addressing these issues only within the police department and public safety. And I think, as Dr. Williams said just prior to me, that this is a responsibility that is throughout the county. And I would like to see commitment to a broad support of all citizens, particularly African-American citizens, in the actions of the Board of Commissioners, your various commission appointments, all of the departments, and all vendor contracts. It is important that representation is equal and fair throughout the county's responsibilities. I would like to suggest, because this is such sensitive discussion, that members of the commission pick up a copy of the book, White Fragility, by Dr. Robin DiAngelo, and have some self-reflective sessions around some of the things that she speaks to. She is a white woman writing to a white audience to help you become more comfortable with the issues that challenge you around race. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your commitment. I believe you want to do the right thing, And myself and other members of the community are here to support you because we all will live better and sleep better if Cobb County supports anti-racism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Massey.
The next speaker is Jennifer Susko.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Susko.
Okay, District 4, I thought I had 5 minutes. FYI, I'm a white woman since you can't see me. As we know, Commissioner Cupid put forth a strong resolution condemning racism, and I'm addressing the embarrassing amendments made to that resolution by another white woman. I often hear white people today muse about what they would have done during the civil rights movement in the past when black people were so brutally treated, discriminated against, and worse. Often white people assume they would have stood up against racism back then. However, the answer to that question is in what you are doing today in our civil rights movement. For this board, the answer to how you would respond to the harm, pain, and death of black people caused by racism is to refuse to support a simple resolution condemning it. I'm going to let white women know their place in history right now, where we will sit in the history books or not. When we look back today on pictures of the past, like the one where a white female is screaming violently at a black female student in Arkansas, we don't want to see ourselves in that picture. Thinking of demonstrating violence toward a black person just for trying to go to school seems like something we would never do. But there's a long history of how terribly white women have treated black women in the past up to present day. Do we think that white people doing things that were blatantly racist in the past thought they were terrible people? Of course not. They were going along with what was politically acceptable at the time, and to them that justified their unforgivable and racist actions. And that is what the white commissioners on this board are doing with, one, the amendment that Commissioner Gamble wrote, and two, by the way she treated Commissioner Cupid in the agenda work session, for which Commissioner Cupid is owed an apology. To have the nerve to tell a black woman how we end racism and the prerequisites demanded by you to do so, the board does not get to dictate how that will be done for so many reasons, not the least of which being clear lack of awareness of what racism even means or how you might be engaging in it towards your black colleagues. The task of ending racism rests on the shoulders of those who benefit most from it, white people. There's a lot of talk right now about how we can be racist or anti-racist. Being anti-racist is an active stance, and passing that resolution immediately would have been what that looks like to be anti-racist. The commissioners who amended it must see how ironic it is that we're having a conversation about this. We're arguing about condemning racism outright, but we don't have a problem with racism in Cobb County. Racist incidents have happened right here in Cobb to a commissioner on the board with you. I've seen it happen to the black students that I serve so many times. And there are so many other examples of how it manifests in Cobb County. To refuse to condemn it outright by supporting a black commissioner's first draft of the resolution might solidify your place in history as white people during the current civil rights movement. We're literally living in the history books that future generations will read right now. I urge you all to research the history of white women and anti-black racial violence and decide the horrifying images of white women yelling at black people, which can easily be translated to the stress and immense pain caused to Commissioner Cupid because of her treatment over the last few days. Is that how the commissioners want to go down in history? If it isn't, do the uncomfortable thing. Apologize to Commissioner Cupid for the racism inflicted on her, and stand up and say whatever you wish or think you would have said during the civil rights movement of the past. I'm ending with words from Dr. Brittany Cooper. White people dictate the pace of social inclusion, and they do so by saying, we will get there. Why are you trying to push us so fast? That kind of pushing back the clock is a way of in which those in power say to those.
Time's expired.
I need to just say this last sentence.
Thank you.
The next public speaker is Pax Riddle.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm Pax Riddle, a Cobb resident. I'm the social justice coordinator for the Cobb County chapter of Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a founding member of the Cobb Coalition for Public Safety, and the Cobb Smart Justice Coalition. I'm here to support your resolutions pertaining to a state hate crime, the state hate crime bill, and for the anti-racism resolution. And I do applaud your collaborative work and transparency during the process. The anti-racism resolution is a good first step toward our continuing efforts in eradicating systemic bias, and your support for the hate crime bill is much appreciated. But as I say, these are only the first steps. Now that we're in agreement that systemic racism exists, much of which stems from unconscious bias, and that a hate crime statute is needed, our organizations expect to see serious efforts to build these concepts into county ordinances in the very near future. One immediate proof of your sincerity would be the reconstitution of the County Community Relations Commission as a County Human Relations Commission, which to be effective would have to be of a very different design than it is now. So we have some ideas on that and stand ready to assist you in this effort. And I also would like to applaud the woman's comments just prior to me that were very cogent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
The next public speaker is Eric Allen.
We have a couple of unidentified callers on the line. If Eric Allen is on, please speak up.
Mr. Allen? The next public speaker is Chelsea Lewis.
Hello, this is Chelsea Lewis, and I'm here primarily to move on the resolution condemning racism, and that would be like the third draft, and I would move to say that it's almost complete in that it's designed to address racism in Cobb County in Georgia. And in that bill, I would like to see other resolutions such as adopting the hate crime legislation and, in fact, establish a hate crime bill for Cobb County as well as Georgia. But I would also like to see the Citizens Review Board established, and that they can be an overseer or look for oversight that happens within Cobb County Police Department, or move to defund the police and start all over again with adopting more racially sensitive policies in terms of how to address citizens that are Black and living in or visiting Cobb County. And that brings me to a video that's posted up on Instagram lately about the cop being fired for talking about we only kill Black people, whether he was being facetious or not. I understand he was fired, but that kind of ideology may be rampant, or it may just be subtle. But I'm sure he was not the only one, given the fact that a lot of citizens have been accosted and treated unfairly by the police department. And I also like to say that there are areas where Black people have been redlined, particularly South Cobb, and I live in Austell. Actually, it's South Cobb, unincorporated, but we go by Austell mailing. And this is one of the busiest crime areas that the police have said that they have to address. And they're talking about building new townhomes right in my backyard, literally, where there's 10 acres or more of woods, and I oppose that. And I would like to say that that could bring more crime, being that it's more people in a concentrated area. And I would like to see Cobb County open up to new areas where people can have choices to live, not just building more townhouses. I live in a single-family home, not a townhome.
Ms. Lewis, your 3 minutes has expired.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lewis.
The next public speaker is Mr. Hockersmith.
This is a JB Hockersmith audio check.
Yes, sir, you have 3 minutes.
I'm a resident of District 4 speaking on rejection of petitions and placement of small cell 5G RF antenna in Cobb County. On March 23rd, 2020, the FCC announced a coast-to-coast 180-day 5G infrastructure install the same week they officially announced the pandemic. Verizon and AT&T confessed to a At a U.S. Senate hearing last year conducted by Senator Blumenthal, they have no idea what the impact will turn to human health if exposed to this type of RF radiation 24/7. The FCC currently qualifies RF standards that are over 20 years old. Our current 4G devices produce a range of RF radiation in the 6 gigahertz range. At 60 gigahertz, oxygen molecules oscillate. This causes oxygen deprivation to our cells and thereby compromise our immune system, particularly the elderly and ill. The small cell 5G antenna gives off continuous RF radiation of over 100 gigahertz and are placed every 500 feet in our front yards, live 24/7. Prenatal, newborn infants, and children have a thinner skull cap and are therefore most susceptible targets for the following: insomnia, headaches, fatigue, heart palpitations, autism, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, and cancer. We ask that commissioners fulfill their oaths to and to knowingly defend and protect our residents. Members who may be skeptical of the evidence and call it a theory, rock-solid data speaks for itself, documented by over 230 known scientists and researchers from 41 countries, by U.S. Senator Blumenthal, by former Microsoft Canada CEO Frank Clegg, by R.F. Kennedy Jr., and the list goes on. The citizens of Cobb County cannot accept that the commissioner's hands are tied or let typical lengthy procedures to overscore the sense of urgency at hand. This district's appeal is one of the most important, if not the most important, in Cobb County's history. The residents of this district offer sizable research and urge the council to use it at their discretion, including California and Florida's HALT petitions that can be used as a footprint for its own petitions, and references from other states are available in short order. We will submit all the aforementioned details via email this afternoon. Thank you.
Dr. Smith.
The next public speaker is Rebecca Ford.
Rebecca Ford has opted not to speak.
The next public speaker is Richard Solomon. Richard Solomon. The next public speaker is Mr. Solomon.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. So, my name is Richard. I live in East Cobb. I'm one of those young people who've been demonstrating about the recent spates of police violence and brutality, and I just wanted to call to express my support for the resolution condemning racism, and also to emphasize what a few other speakers have said about this being one step among many that are coming in the future that the Cobb County commissioners can take to end this scourge in our community. So, you know, I'm a believer that words are great, but actions speak much louder. So, like many have said, there's been a draft resolution, to my understanding, out for a number of years about a citizen review board to review some of the complaints against members of the police. And I think it's really important for the commission to take a strong stance and to adopt that kind of resolution, to establish that kind of board, give them subpoena power, give them funding. I know it's expensive, but it's important. And we can't just let internal police commissions or conduct boards review complaints against their own members. That sets up a system ripe for abuse of power. I also want to know, you know, what is the demographic composition of the force, whether that's the Cobb County Police or the other departments within Cobb County. Diversity isn't trivial. We know from research that, sort of bluntly, forces with more black people, more black officers, kill less black people. So that's also important to me. I want to know Commissioner's stance on repealing or amending Georgia's citizen arrest law that I think is one of the reasons that Ahmaud Arbery died in Burnsville last month. So to me, there's a number of concrete steps over this resolution that I hope the commissioners will take, and I'm looking forward to seeing that in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Ms. Willis, Janitha Willis. Janitha Willis.
She's not on the line.
Okay. DeMarcus Willis.
DeMarcus has opted not to speak.
Leah Carwile.
Leah's not on the line.
Denny Wilson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Wilson, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Boyce and Board of Commissioners. My name is Denny Wilson, and I live in District 4 in unincorporated Austell. In these times, we start each letter, each email, and each phone call with hope you and your families are all doing well with everything going on in the world today. So with that said, that's what I hope for each of you. I recently sent you guys an email requesting the procedures for Hillcrest Drive in Incorporated Austell to be declassified as a collector street, as designated by the Cobb Department of Transportation. And thank you, Commissioner Gambrell, for your response. It was truly appreciated. And thank you for taking the time to forward my email on to the appropriate people. But the response I received from Cobb DOT, in my opinion, was a bland, watered-down interpretation of the code used to classify our street as a collector street. Hillcrest should not fit that description, as this classification has only set our neighborhood up to be terrorized by speeding cars and drag racing. The speeders know we have very little police visibility, and each time I complain to the police department, the police comes out, oftentimes sitting in my driveway, as I've given them permission to do so. However, months go by, and I don't see them again until I complain. As I've stated over and over again to the BOC, the Cobb Police, and Cobb DOT, our street is a death trap with a life waiting to be taken if something is not done and done soon. These speeders have left us with no choice but to request that our street is declassified as a collector street. This way, at least we can request rumble stripes or speed bumps and rid them once and for all of their speeding tricks and games. The word has gotten around that you can drive as fast as you want on Hillcrest. I did notice yesterday, and I don't know if the Cobb Police or the Cobb DOT put an additional speed detection device on Hillcrest. And I sincerely thank Cobb DOT for the 2 permanent speed calming devices that we have there already. And I applaud their efforts in directing me on how to get them placed on our street. I don't know if these devices capture the speeding data or not, but if they do, Cobb DOT will find that there is a serious speeding issue on our street. I welcome any of you to come out between the hours of 7 to 8:30, and you can witness for yourself the horrific speeding that has the whole street pretty much afraid to even go to our mailboxes, let alone make a left turn into our driveway. My email outlined a very tragic would-have-been accident on our street if there wasn't a tree there to save the woman living in the home. These types of incidents are downright scary and force most of us on the street to live in fear of being struck by a car. There are evenings that I would love to go for a walk around in my neighborhood, but the excessive speeders make that impossible for any of us to do. All I want is the street declassified as a collector street. And I don't think that's requesting a lot. Since we live there, it's our lives that's at risk each and every day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Kevin Joshin.
Hi, yes.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
Kevin, okay, thank you. I have, I live in 512 Summit Forest Drive. I'm here to talk about the Sheriff Neil Warren's renewal of the 27G program that's scheduled to be renewed this month, and just here to take a position against that renewal and to end that program. And I would like to remind everyone listening that there are 135 police agencies across the U.S. that have contracts with ICE called the 287G program. And it's a shame that Cobb County comes in 5th place for the most amount of deportations under this program. And within the last 3 years, there's been 2,000 people who've been deported under the program and over 10,000 people who've been deported since it initiated in the county in 2007. I understand that it is our duty as citizens to vote for a sheriff who will best represent me, but when over 40,000 children have had a parent taken from them, it is everyone's moral obligation to speak against family separation. 2/3 of people who've been deported in Cobb were detained for driving without a driver's license or had no prior conviction at all, meaning that many of our community members were racially profiled. We want to stop racism in the force? Well, this is a way. We must end this program. I want to remind the commissioners that there is an alternative, that other police agencies do not detain undocumented people for driving without a license. They ask for other forms of identification or their passport or a driver's license from their country of birth. Please stand in solidarity with communities of color and act to end the 287G program.
Thanks, Joaquin.
Deborah Bennett.
Hi, I'm Reverend Deborah Bennett from Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Thank you for allowing this extended period of comment. I'm addressing the 2 resolutions on the table today, one for passing of a hate crimes bill and the other for the resolution condemning racism. And I come today to lift up the imperative to pass both resolutions and to ensure that they will not simply become words on a page, but sincere calls to action. The resolution supporting a hate crime bill is important, but it is not enough to simply say the facts about what hate crime is and that the commissioners encourage continued work on a hate crime bill. That's too easy. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. To complete the resolution supporting a hate crimes bill, we need more than just placid statements. We need to feel that the very heart of the situation at hand. Facts do not rock the world or change people, and it's easy to hide behind the overused slogan of, well, we tried, when facts don't lead to action, or at least easy action, but instead require really hard work. And I'm speaking both of external work and the inner work that we need to do. The heart also must be deeply engaged in this work. The resolution to condemn racism is not an intellectual statement, it's an expression of the heart. In it, the Cobb County Board of Commissioners says it is deeply saddened by the tragic events across the county and in Georgia, and I really hope that this is so, and I pray that this is so. For only when it is so that the very core of our humanity is rocked by this type of violence that we witness will we really commit ourselves to ending racism in this state. When our heart is involved, our entire being must refuse to rest. So I implore us to grab hold of this sickening feeling that has come upon many of us as we watch the videos of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery's murders and not let go of that feeling. Signing a resolution must not put the end to that feeling, and in fact, it must drive it deeper into our beings. I encourage the county to work with those in the county that are also committed to ending racism. This work includes bills, but it also includes some deeper personal work. And I'm going to say especially and particularly the work that my white brothers and sisters must undertake in order to have the change of heart that's necessary for the change in the world. This can't be an intellectual exercise, and every heart in the county must be open to the inherent worth and dignity of every single person. So I encourage you to pass both the resolution condemning racism and the resolution supporting a hate crime bill. But most importantly, I implore you to use the full force of your mind and your heart and not stop working until the condemnation of racism that you claim today becomes a lived reality, particularly for every Black and brown person in this county. I implore you to listen deeply to the voices of those directly impacted by white supremacy and white overt and subtle violence. White people must listen, and we must follow their lead with humility.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bennett.
Devaney Williams.
Devaney Williams has opted not to speak.
Are there any other public speakers that are on the phone from the 20 list? Are there any other ones that are on the front ready to speak?
There are not.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask communications to scroll the consent agenda items on the screen for us here and for those who are watching at home. Slow. Okay, and I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as revised. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, passes 5-0. Thank you, commissioners. Okay, before we get into the regular agenda, I'd like to make a couple motions here to add some items to the agenda. These are strictly to add them to the agenda. It's not to approve them or to vote on them at this time. The first one is I'd like to make a motion. Item number 47, to approve a resolution in support of the hate crimes bill that addresses crimes involving bias, hate, bigotry, or prejudice. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you, commissioners. And then agenda item number 48, which is an agenda item to authorize the use of funding received under the CARES Act through the Coronavirus Relief Fund to support the Cobb public health emergency expenditures, including supplies, equipment, and staff necessary to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, please.
Commissioner Gamble.
Commissioner Gamble, you have a question?
Comment. I do not support this being put on the agenda. We were told last week that this would come at the meeting at the end of the month. On top of that, I've raised several concerns because their original request to the request you are considering today has gone up 3 times. Therefore, I do not support this coming forth on the agenda at this time.
Okay, all right, that's noted. So I'm going to ask, again, we have to have 4 votes for this to get on the agenda. If we don't have 4 votes, it doesn't make it to the agenda, all right? So everybody understand the ground rules here. So all in favor of this motion to add this item to the agenda, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the motion had 4 votes, and those opposed? Okay, all right. And Commissioner Gamble in opposition. So it passes just to be added to the agenda, not to be voted on at this time. We'll discuss that as we go on to the agenda. So with that, the first item, number 37, it's with great pleasure that I recommend the appointment of Kimberly Lemley to the position of Information Services Director. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion?
I have
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Burrow.
just a comment. Congratulations, Kimberly. You have really stepped up, especially during this pandemic. We've put a lot on you, and we appreciate all the help you've given us to conduct these meetings virtually, as well as all of our other meetings with constituents and zoning and PC and everything else. So thank you, congratulations, and we're here to help if you need anything.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion before I call the vote? Okay, Commissioner Kimberly, yes.
I echo those sentiments. I can't thank you enough for you and your team's efforts to be there for all of us as we transition to virtual meetings in response to COVID-19. You've done an excellent job, just not providing technical skills, but working with all of us with our abilities or inabilities to convert over. We've done it gracefully and willingly. And I look forward to continuing to work with you in this position.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, I'll go ahead and call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. And Kimberly, let's make some comments here.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to just briefly thank the Board of Commissioners and Dr. McMorris and our agency director, Sharon Stanley, for their support and confidence in me to lead this department. We have, excuse me, we have a great department with some amazing, talented people, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to work with them at this level. We have a great team, and Cobb County is a great team as a whole, and we are going to continue to provide efficient and cost-effective technology solutions to the county and to all the citizens that we serve. So I'm very excited to start this new journey and look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's passion right there. Okay, going to number 38. I make a motion that we approve the revised Cobb County SPOS renewal proposed list, project list for inclusion in the 2022 special purpose local option sales tax referendum and intergovernmental agreements with the municipalities conditioned upon Board of Commissioners approval of referendum and intergovernmental agreements. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have discussion? Okay, seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Thanks, Commissioners. All right, number 39 is complementing number 38. I make a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the municipalities within the county for the payment of various municipal improvement funds anticipated to be generated by the 2022 special purpose local option sales tax, and other purposes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Commissioner Cupid, yes.
No.
Okay. Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you, commissioners. Okay. I think now we're on to DOT. Number 40 in the book is not going to become 47. We'll talk about that motion here after you do DOT and other agenda items. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Eric Parrish from DOT.
Yes, sir. Our first item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company in an amount not to exceed $39,117 for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Mableton Parkway pedestrian improvements.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Discussion?
Second.
I said in discussion. Call the question. Raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chairman, are we skipping over?
Cupid, go ahead.
Are we skipping over agenda item number 40?
I'm sorry?
Are we skipping over agenda item number 40?
We're going to make that number 47.
Thank you.
I think, hold on, no, I'm a mistake. I apologize. Let's do DOT. We'll come back to that one, okay? I had my agendas mixed up here.
No problem.
Finish the DOT, then come back to 40. I thank you for saying something. Erica, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company in an amount not to exceed $23,729 for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Kinjack Drive sidewalk project.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with American Lighting and Signalization, Inc., a savings to the project in the amount of $33,033 for construction of a traffic signal at the intersection of Cobb Boulevard and Boone Road.
Commissioner Burwell. Second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 2 to the contract with R.J. Haney and Associates, Inc., a no-cost time extension through December 31st of 2020 for traffic signal timing on our SCATS expansion project.
I'll make a motion to approve that. Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Call the question? 5-0. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then we would request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to project number X2262 to the 2018 countywide unit price contract with Chatfield Contracting, Inc., the savings to the project in the amount of $2,770.85 for drainage system repairs on Anderson Farm Road at Powder Springs Road.
Commissioner Cupid.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question. Raise your hand, please. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Cupid, I would like to do 46 first and then come back to 40, if that's okay with you. Because 40 and 47, they're tied together on basically the same, on similar issues. Okay, if that's all right with you?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 46, Ms. Stanley?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. Our item this morning is to request the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Pioneer Technology Group to purchase technology infrastructure greater than $100,000 for a new unified court case management system. This project is partially funded by the 2016 SPLOST Support Services Technology Improvements Program X0020. On February 13, 2018, the Board of Commissioners authorized issuance of a request for proposal for acquisition of a new UCCMS. Public hearing was held on March 13, 2018, and an RFP to acquire a new unified court case management system was advertised in the Marietta Daily Journal on March 16, 23rd, 30th, April 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, and May 4th of 2018. Proposals were received on May 10th, 2018, with 6 firms responding. The proposals were reviewed by a selection committee comprised of members from Superior Court Administration, Superior Court Clerk, State Court Administration, State Court Clerk, Magistrate Court, Juvenile Court, Probate Court, District Attorney's Office, Solicitor General's Office, Sheriff's Office, Circuit Defender's Office, Information Services Department, and the Purchasing Department. Pioneer Technology Group was selected based on their understanding of the project, proposed staffing up, levels of experience, past performance, project approach, availability, cost, and financial stability. The cost is an amount not to exceed $11,185.656. $2,694 of this will be funded from the 2016 SPLOST Technology Improvements Program. We request the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Pioneer Technology Group in an amount not to exceed $7,763,155.92 to implement a new unified court case management system. Authorize the purchasing director to purchase required technology infrastructure greater than $100,000 in other project-related interfaces, conversions, technical equipment, and 1 contract position for 2 years for the UCCMS in an amount not to exceed $3,422,500.61. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Ott.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I'll call the question. Please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to number 40 now. And here I'm going to make a motion to adopt a resolution condemning racism and reaffirming Cobb County's values of inclusion, respect, and justice, and the county's commitment to reinforce these values. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a second. All right, thank you. So I'll open the floor to discussion. If I could get I have to put everybody back on the screen. There we are. Okay, any comments? Before I call the question?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Are we voting on the resolution in the book or the third version that was that we had presented late yesterday?
The third version, yes. The latest went out last night. Yeah.
Then that needs to be addressed in the changes that were made, I guess. So we know what we're voting on here. What I asked to do is to put the latest version on the screen. Okay, so we're all singing from the same sheet of music. Give us a second here while we. And you should all also have the change sent to you and in your book this morning.
If you're not having a meeting,
Okay. Does anybody not have the latest change presented that the county clerk gave us this morning?
I have the one the county clerk mailed out last night.
All right, let me get a copy of it and I'll read it. All right, into the record. The other copy.
You could just address the 2 minor changes that were made. That would help.
These changes cannot be tolerated.
All right.
This change right here will not be tolerated.
Okay. What we did was in the resolution that's in the agenda book. If we go down to the 6th whereas, Commissioner Cupid had a recommendation yesterday that we change the wording. That the original wording was can no longer be tolerated. What we changed the wording was, and I'll read the whole whereas now. Whereas, in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens and visitors, the board wishes to condemn racism, bigotry, hate, and violence, which cannot be tolerated in Georgia and in particular Cobb County. right? That's the first change. And then the second change was Commissioner Gamble asked us to change the only therefore in the agenda book to what it read now. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Cobb County Board of Commissioners as representatives of Cobb County government that we stand with all citizens of Cobb County against racism and reaffirm our commitment to providing an environment that supports civil rights for all.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Cooper, you have a comment?
I do, Chairman. I would like to thank the board for what appears to be support for this last draft of the resolution. It primarily reflects the original resolution that has been put forward as an agenda for. I want to also thank the public for weighing in on this resolution. I don't think we would have gotten here without you taking the time to tune in to see our discussion about this, and you taking time to email commissioners. Yesterday, I did discuss this in the work session, and I will admit to my peers, I have gone through a lot of experiences on this board and have held my head up high and come in and served my district and the county with diligence and passion. This has been one of the most hurtful experiences I've had on this board. And not because of what's happened over the past 3 days, but because of the experiences I've had over the past 7.5 to 8 years that I've served. I think the public got a chance to see yesterday just how much opportunity we have as a county, starting with our leadership, to create a more inclusive county. And that starts with including our leaders who represent our constituency. And when our voices are excluded, they're excluded. I'm grateful that I don't have to stand alone on this measure. And many people have attributed me to having proposed this resolution. This resolution, I believe, stemmed from the robust conversation that we had amongst leaders last week. And this resolution reflects resolutions that some of our Cobb cities have already put forward and shared that on the call. And this resolution was shared with all of our commissioners by our county manager, and I believe, as was shared yesterday at our chair's prompting, which I do appreciate. It has been shared that this resolution is a first step, and indeed it is. We have work to do. And I think once we approve this, the next step will be putting into place practices that reflect our resolve with condemning racism. The resolution is also a compromise. As was shared, when the language has been changed, it's been a compromise from me listening to you. And in fact, the one modification I made came from somebody who sent me probably one of the nastiest emails that I've received with respect to this matter. But when I could sift through his challenging rhetoric, I know that I did not want to create a document that made accusations that could keep us from moving forward. This document is all about moving forward in reflection of things that have occurred in the past. I just want you to know, everyone to know, my only purpose of being here is to serve to serve and represent, even for people who don't necessarily agree with me. I serve and I represent, and I do it passionately, I do it diligently, and I do it with strength every day. I have received comments about how African Americans, particularly me, in talking about race, we play the role of a victim. I don't think people can begin to understand the level of strength that it takes to push and fight every day against people who may be blatantly blatantly opposed to you. But people who subtly put up barriers to keep you from participating in things that matter to you. I hope this is a new day for Cobb County, but I certainly hope today is a new day for us as a board. We've got a lot of work to do, and this resolution sets up opportunity for us to get it right. And I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough for getting us to the point where we are today to put forward a document that we're getting ready to vote on. It means a lot. Our actions moving forward that reflect this resolution will say a lot. And I know it's not only going to be esteemed by me as your fellow commissioner, but this document will be considered by the several constituents that have tuned in, that are now awakened to challenges within our county, within our country, and that who are most definitely watching. They are not just watching me, they are watching all of us. And with that, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And it passes 5-0. Thank you very much for this very important vote, all of you. All right, now we're going to go on to the agenda item that we added on the hate crimes bill. Get my paperwork here. All right, so I believe everybody got a copy of the hate crimes bill yesterday. They're voting for it, and it was also sent out on the Cobb County website last night, correct, Russ? The change, I guess you should be asking county clerk. The amendment to the agenda was published so the public could see it.
Yes, it was republished last night.
Okay, thank you. So that, I make a motion to approve a resolution of support to approve a resolution in support of a hate crimes bill that addresses crimes involving bias, hate, bigotry, or prejudice. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. I'll open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Cupid, yes. Okay, all right. Sometimes a light that goes around the trains, and I think that people want to say something. So we're still working the technology here. But seeing no comments, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 5-0. Thanks again, commissioners, for passing this very important piece of legislation. And then the last one, I'm going to let either Randy or Lisa Crossman present the final agenda item on the public health purchases under the CARES legislation. So is it going to be Randy or Lisa talking about this to the board?
Randy, it's up to you.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you, Randy. So thank you, commissioners, for entertaining this request. As you know, Cobb and Douglas Public Health has been on the front line of this pandemic over the past 3.5 months. And we have several unreimbursed expenses since the beginning that we're asking you to help support through the CARES Act funding. This is to support our supplies and staff, temporary hourly staff, and some equipment to both help us be prepared to respond to this pandemic now, and also to be prepared for possible surge through December, and to put things in place so that in the opportunity, when we have the opportunity for antibody testing and vaccination, we will be prepared.
Thank you. Chief Kreider, do you have anything to add to that before I make a motion?
No, I just, I do stand in support of, Lisa and I've had a couple of very lengthy conversations about what our role is in public safety, and I consider obviously public health a large portion of public safety for Cobb County, and we've worked together extremely well through this pandemic, and I just want those who may not understand the reasoning behind these agenda items coming forward is that 1 year ago, if we would have been coming to this board to make a recommendation to create such a stockpile, we would have been ran out of Cobb County because none of us envisioned this happening. We have no idea what lies ahead of us, and I just appreciate the support of our board that has a vision that we owe it to our public and our employees to be prepared should there be another return of this in the fall or moving forward. So I just support what Lisa in Public Health is bringing forward, and I think this is huge for the citizens of Cobb County. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Commissioner, we have, as instructed, we've reviewed these with your leadership and the finance folks and assured that these are all eligible expenses. And I also want to thank you all and the folks in public safety for partnering with us throughout this pandemic. We truly, truly could not have had the response that we've put in place without your leadership and decisive action since the beginning. So we really do appreciate that partnership.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And with that, I make a motion that the Board of Commissioners authorize the use of federal funding through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act in the amount of $1,772,590 in support of Cobb Public Health unreimbursed emergency expenditures, including supplies, equipment, and staff necessary to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. And I have some discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, Commissioner Burrow, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Lisa and Dr. Memark, for your dedication and commitment during this process. The drive-through testing has been very smooth at Jim Miller Park. You've done a great job, and with the information getting out to the public. One thing I would like to make sure that is understood here is, number one, this is covered under the CARES Act, and number two, this is not being funded. This is equipment and staff that will not be funded by the state money by the state through the CARES Act money. So it's not a double dipping or duplication here. And I just wanted to make that clear. And I'm the one who asked that this be brought forward at this meeting. We have a lot of other requests in the hopper, and it's my understanding that presentations will be made at the night meeting in June for that, or the whatever time we do it. So I initiated that this come forward now, Commissioner Gamble, so, and, it's my understanding that Ms. Crossman, as is the case, did walk the halls and talk to all the commissioners to make sure, and I think the list was revised based on, some comments. So I just would like to say thank you for all the work you're doing, and, we appreciate you and support you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Any other comments?
Commissioner Burrell, to address your comment, I was not talked to personally. I know I talked to another commissioner with some of my concerns that got relayed back, but it still goes to, like they want food reimbursed, yet we're requiring nonprofits to give receipts, yet we're going to give them a lump sum for food. I don't think that is correct. I think, again, they should have to have receipts. I also question on the equipment. It seems that Cobb County is purchasing some of the same equipment that the Public Health Department was purchasing. My understanding, we were purchasing equipment to set up for public health. So again, my question, why are we essentially purchasing twice the amount of equipment than is needed? Also, as far as, temporary staffing, as long as there's nothing tied, that's going to obligate the county to further fund the temporary staff come January 1st of 2021, because miraculously a virus just doesn't go away because funding goes away. Those are just a few of my concerns about passing this now. Thank you.
Commissioner Chairman, if I may respond.
Commissioner Gamble, thank you for your comments. And was that Ms. Crossman?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Commissioner, just to respond to your questions or your comments, first of all, my apologies for not being able to connect with you last week. I did leave a message at your office, but we didn't have a chance to connect. And I do appreciate one of the other commissioners talking with you, and I'd still be happy to meet with you to go over these expenses. Secondly, regarding the some of the expenses, we are not having this be a lump sum transfer over to public health. We are providing receipts for all of those, and we'll submit those to Cobb County government and to Bill Volkman as requested. Regarding the equipment, the supplies and the equipment that we're purchasing are very much needed for now, and also for us to do satellite locations throughout the community to be able to reach our vulnerable populations with our testing now, and then to be prepared for vaccination and antibody testing in the future. In my conversations with Randy and other staff, and with Cassie, I don't believe that we are duplicating things that are not needed at multiple sites. Thank you.
And also the staffing is temporary and part-time for COVID.
Correct. This is all staff that is temporary and hourly that would be used just for COVID response. We have been notified by our state and by public health and the governor that we are to return to traditional public health services beginning this month. And so many of the staff is needed in order to replace staff that have previously been diverted from other public health functions. But it is temporary, hourly, and we are not committed past December.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. I see 3 hands, plus me is 4. All opposed? Commissioner Gamble is in opposition, so passes 4-1 with Commissioner Gamble in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're on to Commissioner comments. So I'll start with the Commissioner Gamble first.
Okay, I'm supposed to have
That's okay.
a couple couple slides, so I'm waiting for those to come up, please.
Sounds good.
While we're waiting, I would like to congratulate Kimberly on her position as Support Services Director.
IS.
Or I'm sorry, thank you, Sharon, IS Director. So I'm assuming we can see everything on the screen now. So I started last week of This Is My Community, which is featuring photos here of our Cobb Angels 12-year and under men's baseball team, as well as helping hands of our neighbors, friends, and public safety officers. We would like to encourage our community to submit pictures and invite others to do so, showing how your hands help within our community. You can send photos to ryan.williams@cobbcounty.org. And I'd also like to say a special thank you to Stephen Bennett for helping capture many of these photos of our public safety officers. Our SPLOS virtual open house will be held on June 17th and 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. inside the TV23 studio. The public will be allowed to listen, call in, chat via Facebook, etc. to garner questions and feedback. Anybody wishing to provide feedback on the SPLOS renewal can email us by using the SPLOS comments at cobbcounty.org. Our Cobb County Library System is having a summer reading program. The library and summer adventures support family bonding time, community engagement, and shared learning experiences. We've included activities designed to encourage participation by the whole family because learning doesn't stop when you leave school. Participating is easy. You can track your reading and activities by creating a Beanstack account. Register each member of your family under one account. As you read and engage in activities, you will be eligible to earn badges and prizes. If you earn 6 badges, you win a prize. You'll also be entered into the grand prize drawing for a free box of books at our fall 2020 book sale. The library will be posting fun ideas all summer long on their Facebook and Instagram at Cobb County Library. So be sure to check this out and share your own summer adventure fun using Pound Summer in Cobb. And then lastly, I would like to thank all of our volunteers today. I know Ryan Williams is one of them, my assistant, who has been working the past 3 weeks down in our elections office. So I thank all of our volunteers for serving today. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Gamble. I want to thank you for breaking these slideshows to a whole new level. Some good stuff on there, and I appreciate what you're doing with Ryan to inform the public. This is really good stuff, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't voted, today is election day, and you have an opportunity until 7 p.m. tonight. If you have your absentee ballot, you can drop it off at the 4 locations, which may be a better way to go today if the lines are long. But you do have until 7 p.m. tonight to have your ballot in. So please exercise your right and privilege to vote. We also need poll workers for the future and for November, and if there are runoffs today too. So you can contact cobbelections.org, go to the website, and sign up to be a poll worker. Also, big congratulations to Kimberly. And before we show the video, I just have a few words to say about the resolutions today. First of all, the horrific events over the past few months in our nation have really hurt us all. My condolences go out to the families of the victims of these senseless acts. There's no place for racism, hatred, bigotry, or violence in our county or anywhere for that matter. And I think that's evident by the stand we took today by adopting the resolution. We will not tolerate or condone it on any level. We are a diverse county, and we pride ourselves on our quality of life and our good government. We engage our community, as diverse as it is, through a lot of our programs and events that are not just, they impact all of our community, no matter what race, color, creed, and so forth. One of the programs I look forward to every year is our National Night Out at Jim Miller Park. It's a great program that promotes police and community relationships, and it's celebrated by all, and it's a great event. We have a lot of other programs with our focus groups at all the precincts. We have faith-based forums that were started years ago, and we have committed to continue those programs and improve upon them and expand them as well. So we also celebrate Martin Luther King in partnership with the NAACP every year, and that's another wonderful celebration in our county. And we sponsor the Juneteenth on the square. And most recently, Commissioner Cupid launched the Cobb International Festival, which really touches all backgrounds in Cobb. Yes, there's always room for improvement. And as liaison commissioner to public safety this year, I'm committing to take the lead to expand and improve these programs and events, which can only enhance our relationships with our diverse community. Additionally, I further commit to work with our county manager and my fellow commissioners to encourage more participation in these programs and others that will strengthen our community together. We are a diverse county, but more importantly, we're all children of God, created equal in the image and likeness of God. We all deserve to be treated equally with mutual respect and love for one another. So I ask you, when you recite the Pledge of Allegiance, to really think about these words and mean what they say. One nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow, for those very meaningful and pointed words. Thank you. Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And thank you for the opportunity to gather myself a bit from the resolutions. I appreciate Commissioner Burrow for her remarks. They were thoughtful. And I hope that sentiment continues. I think for many of us in Cobb County, this is a new day. This resolution represents opportunity for a new day. And I would hate that this resolution and many of the marches that you see and the protests that you see stem from very tragic events. But I think our attention to those things during this pandemic has made us acutely aware of disparities that are occurring across our county. and painfully to admit to some people, also in our county. But today still reflects a new day that the lives that were lost were not lost in vain. That as technology and media helped us to see firsthand just how base some activity can be towards Black people in this country. That same technology is available for people to see what we do. And I think a lot of people are watching us. And it's, it's not just those very base events that jolt all of us and make us wonder what is going on. There are day-to-day things that occur around us that many of us have questioned that in our minds, but have really not felt comfortable sharing. And so I think we all have opportunity to look around us and look at our programs as Commissioner Boyle shared, but also evaluate the impact of our work. For instance, we'll have zoning next week, Tuesday. Do our zoning decisions reflect our care and concern for every area of Cobb County, like we care about our own? That's something we can immediately start with. But with all of our policies, as the gentleman from East Cobb said, what are our demographics? As Carol stated on the call, what's our participation with our vendor contracts on our boards and our commissions? Are we all looking to see that we have participation? I mean, there's so much opportunity for us as a county to not just look at our words or our programs, but what is the impact? What's the result? As we look around the room, are we not just seeing that it's a diverse room, but are we including everyone in the communication and the policy that's being crafted? These are things that all add to our ability to say that, yes, we are a county that denounces racism, but we are a county that ensures that through our actions and our policies. And I'm extremely excited for us to set our hearts and our minds towards that end with this resolution that's been put forward today. With that, there's some other announcements I would like to make. There were some PowerPoints that I hope you received on my behalf, Ross, that we can queue up, and I'll refer to some things that are occurring in the district. Yes, no?
It's going to come up in a second, Commissioner Cubic. Just give it 1 minute, 1 second here while they pull it up. They have the presentation.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, no, they don't.
They don't?
Oh, come on.
That's okay. We'll speak to it briefly because I don't want to.
All right, go ahead.
Keep it longer. One of the first things that we can do is to vote. Throughout this meeting and before I got here, we are having tremendous challenges at a number of our polls. Some of you have experienced or heard of these challenges even last week. I don't know if we have someone from elections even on this call, but it'd be helpful if they can give us an update, because I'm hearing of people who've been in line even as early as 5 o'clock this morning who didn't vote until 7:45 after being one of the first handful of people in line. I know we're working hard to address these things, but as you have issues, email us, because as I get your concerns, I'm sending them right over to elections, and they're seeing what they can do real time. But honestly, there are some things that we cannot change right now. We can't change the fact that we have new machines that are causing a lot of technical issues. And we can't change the fact that we have a lot of changeover in our poll workers. A lot of it stemming from people who typically work our polls but are vulnerable and can't be at the polls due to their susceptibility to COVID-19. So we have people out there who are trying their best, but with the confluence of these two factors, in addition to more people again being sensitive to what's going on around them and coming out to the polls. It's just creating a perfect storm for people to wait. But I ask you to please wait. I know some of you have to work. If you're having issues where you're waiting so long that you have to leave for something imperative, please communicate that to our election board, communicate it to me so I can carry that over to elections. But if you can, please do. I know I've sent out messages saying if you need a chair, bring water, do what you have to do to make sure your votes is counted. In many of the meetings I've had throughout the years, I've shared that people are measuring who's showing up to the polls. And those running for office, people with campaigns, they are focusing their energy on where there's higher turnout. In District 4, our turnout lags compared to the rest of the county. And so you don't see a lot of people campaigning on our side of town. And you don't see sometimes the concerns of our community being reflected in block policy. You've got to stay at the polls and vote. Please do. We need that, but we need that from everyone across the county. Another way that you can be counted beyond today is the census. Cobb County has had a remarkable census response compared to the national average. But we do have 3 areas in District 4, and I had a map. 2 of them specifically come to mind around Sibley Library and south of I-20, where our turnout numbers are below 30%. I've shared over and over again, and staff has that the dollars that come to our county based on census counts go towards a myriad of activity, including education, including road projects, including CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant Funds, which helps with housing stability. It helps with so many programs for our community, but if we can't count these, we're leaving dollars on the table. Last time around, Cobb County had about a 75% turnout, and we left about $250 million on the table because 25% of our population didn't participate in the census. We need you to do this. Lastly, when it comes to leaving money on the table, don't leave this small business grant money on the table. Today, Select Cobb has opened up their application to give small businesses money who have not received money under federal funding if you meet certain qualifications. I encourage you to please apply if you are a small business that is in need of support due to the negative impact of COVID-19 on your business. I was going to have a flyer up, but I will put something in my newsletter Friday. In fact, I'm working with the chamber to have 3 webinars available starting this Friday at 2 o'clock. We'll also do another one next week, Monday and Wednesday, so that you can get your questions answered on what is going on with our small business grant money, because we want to make sure you're supported. If our small businesses are supported, that means Cobb County is supported. If you do well, we do well. So please help us not to leave money on the table. Help us not to leave votes on the table. And again, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you continue to tune into what we do here in local government. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cupid. Commissioner Ott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one. Mr. Chairman, I am both disheartened and disappointed in the members of this board. It is unbelievable to me that over a week was spent haggling over the language of a resolution on racism. Every member of this board supports removing racism from our community. It should have only taken 5 minutes to write the resolution, and the remainder of the time spent on deciding how to address the issue. People want to see actions, not words. Although not perfect, Cobb County has been working to address racism in our community. Former Director Register initiated a program to have public safety reach out to the communities with community policing. He also began the dialogue with faith-based communities. Those programs are not the end-all, but the beginning of the road forward. I am concerned that this past week's wasted opportunity will cause more harm than good. If this board can't agree immediately on the language of a resolution, I fear that it will take far too long to take the steps forward. I want to read a letter written by Lieutenant General Darrell Williams, the 60th Superintendent of West Point, that I believe is how this board needs to be moved forward. June 4th, 2020. USMA teammates. As you are aware, our country is experiencing civil unrest. During these unsettling times, I want us to recommit to eradicating racism from within our ranks by treating all people with dignity and respect. We must show one another the kindness and compassion necessary to build cohesion and trust in our community. The oath to support and defend the Constitution binds us together as one team, dedicated to defending our nation and upholding its values. We strive to embody these ideals and aspire to live by our core values of duty, honor, and country. Every word, every action, and every attitude should uphold those values so that we may live and lead honorably. The nation looks to West Point as an example of what is possible when people from diverse backgrounds unite and aspire to honorable living. Consider how your words, actions, and attitudes impact other people. Are you building up others and making them feel valued? Are you strengthening trust within the team? Are you extending forgiveness and actively listening to other points of view? Are you inspiring others to greatness? If so, encourage others to do the same. If not, then choose to improve immediately. Muster the moral courage necessary to confront and solve problems with effective, honest, and empathetic dialogue that seeks solutions rather than sowing seeds of division and disunity. I am proud to serve alongside you as we pursue excellence while respecting the dignity of our teammates. Together, let us show the nation that their trust in us is well placed. Very respectfully, Darrell A. Williams, Lieutenant General, U.S. Army, 60th Superintendent. Mr. Chairman, as General Williams said, until all members of this board are extending forgiveness and actively listening to other points of view and are colorblind, we cannot move forward.
Just a couple, to end this meeting here, just a couple notes. First of all, I really want to commend the Board of Elections and Registration team. We have 144 precincts in this county and 143 are open today. Think about that. During the COVID crisis, we know a lot of our volunteers are already my age and are elected to come out. And we still managed to get 123 out of 144 precincts open today. That shows true leadership and management skills by Janine Edler and her team. And my hat's off to them today. And yes, there'll be lines. And yes, the vote will be, it'll probably go late into the evening. As a function of that is the machines require an additional step of taking the ballot out and having it scanned. So we're all part of this new world involving elections to ensure that we protect the security and integrity of the system. And in order to do that, we have to have these additional new steps, and that's going to require some extra time if you choose to stand in line today. Secondly, it's with great pleasure I announce that our AAA rating has been reaffirmed by our rating agencies in New York, Moody's and Fitch. That will be the 23rd consecutive year, 24th consecutive year that has happened. And that's a reflection on the board and its policies and producing budgets and exercising the efficiencies and judicial responsibility to lead a county that warrants a AAA rating. So thank you to the board and also to all the other members of the community here that helped us to get to this great achievement and continue it. Congratulations to our Solicitor General, Barry Morgan. He recently became the Cobb's longest serving elected prosecutor and has been doing so since 1988. And then finally, Commissioner Gamble, at the end of the month, will be putting together a resolution commending Foster Norman on his retirement from the board of Community Services Board. Well, I want to say thank you to Norman. He has truly been an incredible public servant. I know many of you don't know him, but I can assure you that what I saw when I first took office and that he came about a year later, he has turned that agency around on a very, very limited budget. He has learned, he's done more with less than anybody else I've seen in the county. And finally, I want to thank all the essential personnel, all our heroes here in the county during this COVID crisis. But also, I said this once and I'll say it again. I'm really proud of this board. I know it seems like there's there's accolades, but you know something? That's democracy in action. And democracy is very fragile. I've been in places in my lifetime where, things came apart overnight, that we thought that, they'd had unity in their nation for several hundred years, and it literally dissolved overnight. And I believe it dissolved because they didn't have what we have here. We have clearly differences of opinion on this board, but that's what makes this a better board. Because we know that every time we come to a meeting, we know there's going to be differences of opinion, so we have to bring the arguments, that we believe are going to carry the case. And what the public doesn't see, it's all the stuff that goes on in the background with board members talking to each other. And I think, I don't use this word very often in public life, but it takes courage. Sometimes it's hard to call a commissioner knowing that they're not going to support you, but I feel as the chairman, it's my obligation to let them know where I stand, because I made a commitment to everyone on this board, no surprises, and I try to do that every single day. So I think that what you've done in the last 2 board meetings, and the votes that were reflected there, let's give yourself some credit. 5-0 votes, no matter how hard they're achieved, are still 5-0 votes. 4-1 votes aren't far behind that. And I hope you walk away, the public walks away, knowing that this is a board that works real hard to represent everybody in this county. And we are going through a time right now where we have to relook at what is it that we're doing, is it enough? And clearly many feel that it's not. And I'm going into the winter of my years. And I'm looking at a broader time, and I think we have made progress, and yet the current generation feels that we haven't made progress enough. Well, you know something? I was there 50 years ago. I was young. I was passionate. I cared about issues. A little bit different than they are now, but I understand, what's going on right now. But I also know that the way to effectively deal with these issues, not all the time, but most of the time, is through the political process. Get involved, get with your commissioners, get with the staff, talk to us. Your emails do make a difference. This afternoon, I'm going to go back and answer about 140 emails that I got last night about the issues today. Your government cares for the people in this county, and they care deeply for it. I heard the emotion in Commissioner Burrow's voice. I heard the emotion in Commissioner Cupid's voice. I heard the emotion in Commissioner Ott's voice. And I know that Commissioner Gamble feels just as strongly. In the end, we're the ones that are called to make the hard choices. And I'm not looking for sympathy here. I just want you to know that this is something that we 5 have been elected to lead this county and continue the greatness that is Cobb, but to make it even better than we are right now. And I'm confident what I'm seeing today, that if we continue to engage with the public and the commissioners continue to be open in their expressions of their opinion on how we should move forward, we will move forward. It's when you go silent and you accept it and you give up that you lose. And I don't think that's going to happen with this board. So again, I'm really proud of all of this board. I'm proud of the staff. I'm really proud of our public safety and how they've handled demonstrations over the last 2 weeks. We've had many public demonstrations, but they believe that the people's voice has a right to be heard, and they've ensured that's happened. So we continue to have our motto of expect the best, and we try every single day to do that. So that, I want to wish everybody a great week, and thank you for all the work you've done on the board's part, but also thank you for the community for caring enough to let us know how you feel, to help us have an informed decision, an informed conversation to make a better decision. With that, this meeting is adjourned. It's out of here. Meeting.
I am Chief Tim Cox of the Cobb County Police Department in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Standing here with me today is just a few of the officers of our 712-member police department. We stand here today with heavy hearts. The reason our hearts are heavy is because we see the pain that's on the faces of the citizens in our community, in our cities, in our county, in our state, and in our nation. We recognize the turmoil that many people are encountering as a struggle with the concepts of racism and brutality and the chaos that we're dealing with in society related to those. A pastor friend of mine called yesterday and talked to me in depth for a while, and he related to the concept that if one part of the body is injured or hurting, then all the body is hurting. I think that's what we're experiencing. Society. All of society is hurting because one part is hurting. I'm here today with these officers and our staff to stand along and make a statement that the Cobb County Police Department stands against racism in all forms. We stand against brutality in all forms. Our department will not stand for it. We will not tolerate it. We stand against hatred of any forms and will not have it in the ranks of our department. We realize that we service a community that's very diverse with many different cultures. I realize as a chief of police that many of the members of our department come from different cultures and then that diversity. It is important that I and every member of this department take the time to listen to the different perspectives of people from those cultures, those backgrounds. Listen to their perspectives, try to see it through their lenses, and then also communicate my perspective. And hopefully we can have a conversation that is much more knowledgeable for everybody and have a better understanding of the things that we're dealing with. As I close out this part of what I'm talking about or what I'm saying, I want to move into an oath of office. Why are we doing an oath of office? Most of these officers here have taken the oath of office when they hired in. Well, one of our officers, or actually several of our officers, came forward and said they wanted to show symbolism to the community how serious we are. They wanted to show the community that they wanted to retake the oath of office. Consider it much like a couple renewing their marriage vows. So please watch as we renew our oath of office for the officers that are here from the Cobb County Police Department. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. As a member of the Cobb County Police Department. As a member of the Cobb County Police Department. We do affirm to uphold the Constitution of the United States. We do affirm to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And of the state of Georgia. And of the state of Georgia. And of the laws of this state and this county. And the laws of this state and this county. To the best of our ability without fear or favoritism. To the best of our ability without fear or favoritism. And abide by the law enforcement code of ethics. And abide by the law enforcement code of ethics. And the rules and regulations of this county. And the rules and regulations of this county. And the lawful order of our superior officers. And the lawful order of our superior officers. So help me God. So help me God. Thank you. And now at this time, the Cobb County Director of Public Safety, Director Randy Kreider, will say a few words.
Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to share my thoughts on what's taking place here today. I have to tell you, I'm overwhelmingly moved by the willingness of our officers to recommit to that original oath of office that they took when they became Cobb County police officers. I, along with Chief Cox, our county manager, our board of commissioners, stand 100% in support of our police officers and will support them as long as they are lawfully carrying out their duties without prejudice or without biases that would affect the treatment that any of our citizens or visitors get here in Cobb County. I commend these officers for the job that they've taken on to uphold the laws of our county and to keep our citizens safe. And I hope that you as citizens of this county are provided some comfort to see the actions of these officers that's taking place here today. As the Chief Cox said, this idea came from those in our ranks. This was not forced on these officers by our command staff or by anyone else. I commend our officers for the willingness to step forward and to renew their commitment and their oath of office to protect those here in Cobb County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Now, as we close this out, I want to thank you for taking the time and watching our video. And as Chief of Police, I want to make a commitment to you on behalf of our department. We will treat our community and all segments of our community in a professional and respectful manner. Thank you.